Hi there, Pickens Wesleyan Church family and friends. I'm Pastor Paul, and welcome to What's What this week, September 13th, 2020. Here are some things that you need to know about that are going on in the church. Next weekend, we're going to be having our Faith Promise Mission Sunday. This was intended to be back in March, and it's the weekend that we make our pledges for the year to raise money for our missions budget. And we were unable to do that because of COVID-19. And so we're finally going to be able to have that opportunity next week. It'll be based on a 7-month time instead of a 12-month year. But we're going to have two special speakers. Chris Wilson will be with us from the Dream Center. She is the executive director. She has spoken at the church before on a Wednesday night, and our folks loved her. And so we wanted to have her back to share with us more of a local ministry missions emphasis. And then a friend of our church, and many of us know Dan Irvine, he will be back with us. He is with World Hope International, and he is the country director of Haiti. He's going to be sharing with us the updates on the wells that we raised money for last year, and also just give us more of a worldwide scope of missions. So part of our weekend will be Faith Promise. Our budget for the year is $29,620. It's really close to what the amount was last year. We still want to support our missionaries and all of the ministries that are part of our missions budget faithfully. Many of you have continued to give straight through, and so those missions monies have been already building up for the last 4 months or so. We want to encourage you to be praying and ask God what He would have you give for missions this year. Now, the way Faith Promise works is you don't just look at the numbers and try to figure out what you can give. You need to ask God, if God were to bless you and put money in your hands that you weren't expecting, would you willingly give that to missions? So Faith Promise just simply means I'm going to pledge and I'm going to trust God to bless me, and so I can give this money to missions. We're going to collect those cards for 2 weeks, the 20th and the 27th, and we'll let you know that amount as it progresses. Also, next week, Pastor Sherry and myself are going to work together and look at the list and see who's not been attending church or has not been able to attend church during coronavirus and the pandemic. And we're going to mail you your Faith Promise card with a stamped envelope so you can send it back anonymously and be a part of Faith Promise. So plan to be a part of that. And at the end of the printed or the email version of What's What, the full missions budget is going to be there. And if you're in church, it'll be on the back of your bulletin for the next 2 weeks. Last Sunday was an exciting Sunday as we got to dedicate little Emma Ray Lum. She was born on June 8th to the proud parents of Greg and Rachel Lum. And so we got to celebrate in church last week as we dedicated her to Jesus and prayed with her parents. So that was exciting. This will be the last week of the pastoral devotions that we've been sharing with you all through the pandemic. Pastor Randy is bringing the devotion this week, and it will be a missions emphasis. He's a chairman of our missions committee, and so he will be sharing with you a little bit about what's happening next week, a little more. So you can find that on our YouTube channel or on our Facebook page. So plan to be a part of that. So I say it's the last one simply because we didn't mind doing this, just try to stay connected. But as life is getting back to normal, the whole pastoral staff is starting to get a little busier as ministries are starting to occupy our time and the things that we need to prepare for. So this will be the last online devotional. All the services and other links will still be on the website every week. We have 2 local missions opportunities that we need you to sign up for if you're thinking about doing them and you just haven't signed up yet. One is Rebuild Upstate on Saturday the 26th. A group is going to go to a home in the local area to build a ramp for them, a wooden ramp. And so if you're able to build and do some of those things, we do need your help. We still need about 5 people to help with that project. Please let Pastor Randy or myself or Pastor Sherry in the church office let us know that you're willing to do that. The other one is Feed a Hungry Child of Pickens County. On the 18th, we're going to go to their facility, and they simply box up food for children that have a pretty great need for food on the weekends. And we will just go for 2 hours from 10 in the morning till noon and help box these boxes of food for children in the Pickens County. So again, let us know if you can be a part of that. Who's Who this week's a little bit different. First of all, we want to introduce to you Alyssa the intern. Alyssa Elliott is a student at SWU this year. She's a sophomore. And many of you remember Pastor Jake. He was with us for 3 years. And Pastor Jake went through this process. As part of their schooling and education, they have to do several practicums. And Pastor Jake did all 3 of his at our church. And Alyssa contacted me over the summer and asked could she do her practicum at Pickens View. She is a youth ministry and a children's ministry major. So Pastor Heath is going to give oversight to her program and meet with her weekly. He's already on campus over at Southern Wesleyan because he's the alumni director, but also she'll be working very closely with Pastor Landon, getting experience hands-on with our children and with our youth. So when you see Alyssa, she's already been here for several weeks. Make her feel welcome and at home, and we're glad to have her with us. Over the past several weeks, we've had several of our church family members lose loved ones, and myself, along with the church family, we want to express our condolences and our love and our concern for you, as all of us have probably in some way lost a loved one and know how difficult that can be. A few weeks ago, Monica Trotter, who's married to Bubba, his name is Jimmy, but we call him Bubba. Monica lost her grandmother. She passed away. I believe she lived in North Carolina, and she passed away on August 27th. This past week, Robert McKinney, we know him as Pi, his mother passed away, and the funeral was Wednesday. And so we want to remember the whole McKinney family as Robert and Lisa say goodbye to a mom, Kenna and Jacob, both as young adults. It's not easy saying goodbye to your grandparents, and so let's just remember them in prayer this week. And the third family I want to mention to you today is the Pertlewitz family. They're pretty much attenders on Sunday mornings when we see them because they're traveling all the way from Seneca. And we have a special bond with the Pertlewitz family because we had a friend in common. His name was Lawrence the camel. 2 years ago when we began the live nativity, we struggled a little bit with the amount of money it would cost to rent a live camel. But that first night it was monsoon rains and it was miserable. But the Pertlewitz family came right in as we were closing and wanted to see the live camel. They were passing through Pickens on the way home and turned around and came back. And the man taking care of the camel was nice enough to let them see the camel. But we encouraged them to come back the next night, and they did. And they came later that week to our Christmas Eve service and then started showing up on Sundays and really became regular attenders of our church family. Little did we know how God would unusually bring them to our church by using a camel. Little did we know that he would bring them close to us and close to our church family so that we could help them go through one of the most difficult times of their life. About this time last year, Bob was in a car accident. It wasn't a real major accident by any means, but later that night he was having some confusion, and so they took him to the ER, and it turns out that accident was probably caused from a tumor that they found. Bob was diagnosed with brain cancer, was incurable, and for the last year, Bob and Heidi have sought treatments and advice from many different folks, knowing that if they could shrink the tumor, it would just give them more time together as a family. And it was evident in the last few weeks they had gone to Texas to be a part of an experimental treatment, which was showing signs of shrinking the tumor. But Bob's body was getting weary. The cancer was progressing and causing other issues. And this past Tuesday, Bob slipped away and went home to heaven with Jesus. Early that morning, his little grandson Landon, and Bob really was a father to little Landon. And he and Mommy were coming in to say their goodbyes on the way to school and to work. And little Landon threw his arms up on his grandpa and he said, "Grandpa, Daddy, you remember who I am?" 5:30 in the morning, and Bob says yes. And 2 hours later, Bob went home. So this is a tremendously difficult time for Heidi. and Stacy and Landon, and they have a son who's in the Low Country as well. We want to keep them in our prayers. And later this month, on the 26th, we're going to have a memorial service here at the church at 11 a.m. And I just want to encourage you to be praying for the Purtlewitz family, plan to be a part of that memorial service, and just continue to love and support them. So as I close today, each week as I'm learning more about being a senior pastor and all that's involved, it was just a heavy heart this week. Being at Bob's house and all the goodbyes and that difficult time, the finality of losing Bob through this battle, and yet going to the McKinneys to the funeral for this mother and grandmother, and to see how our own church folk are struggling. I've been reminded these past several weeks as I've tried to share with you the sermon series that I felt God laid on my heart, that it was what we need to be doing this fall, and it's how to handle life's problems. And it applies to all of us. We're all struggling. Corona has caused us to struggle. We're isolated, and then so many of us in the church are struggling with something. Some we know because we see them on the prayer list. Some we don't know. Some of you are struggling with things at home by yourselves, and you've not reached out to anyone. I want to encourage you, please don't struggle alone. We have myself and plenty of pastors at the church. You now have 6 pastors on staff, actually. And we would love the opportunity to pray with you and to talk with you. More than ever, I feel that God wants us to be what he's called us to be, his church. We are a family. When you get that prayer list during the week and you see those prayer requests coming through, pray. Pray, pray, pray for our church family and the people that are struggling. And I would just ask that you would encourage one another, that we'll talk to one another. We need to help each other look to Jesus. He promises to be all sufficient for us and to give us everything that we need. But it's hard sometimes in the face of problems to keep our eyes on eternity. So we need to be a family. Let's do that together. Let's reach out to each other and ask God how you can help someone else down this path. I want to encourage you this next Sunday morning, this coming Sunday, as we continue in our series. We're going to be looking at how to find peace in the midst of my problems. And I know that's something that all of us can use. So let's just trust God and keep loving each other. I'm so proud to be your pastor, so proud of being a part of this family at Pickens Wesleyan Church. So God bless you this week, and if you can be at church this Sunday at 9:15 or 10:30, be sure to come in and join us. Children's church is during the 10:30 hour, and we are starting adult Sunday school during the 10:30 hour this week. God bless, and we'll see you soon.